Hi guys, this video is going to be uncomfortable for some, but the truth needs to be shared regardless of how it makes you feel. First, I want to talk about this report we've got here. Stand with 300,000 Christians in North Korea on November 4th for the International Day of Prayer. Now, I'm asking my subscribers to join in with this International Day of Prayer on November 4th. November 4th in the October 31st and November 5th time frame is where I believe around that time, electricity will have gone. So if that does happen, obviously it would be on the International Day of Prayer, a day I think we should all involve ourselves in. So basically it says here, every year 215 million Christians face high levels of persecution in places hostile to Christianity. People like Hiawu risk their lives and the lives of their families for their decision to follow Christ. Today she allows God to use her story to motivate Christians throughout the world to pray for North Korea, that has ranked number 1 on the Open Doors World Watch List for 17 consecutive years, indicating that it is the most difficult place in the world to be a Christian. This year, Open Doors is standing with Hiawu and the estimated 300,000 believers there for the annual International Day of Prayer for the Persecuted Church on Sunday, November 4th. Each year during IDOP, International Day of Prayer, Christians throughout the free world band together in solidarity with believers who live out their faith in the face of harassment, attacks, false imprisonment, and even death. We at Open Doors are convinced that now is the time for Christians to come together to pray for North Korea. That's why for IDOP 2018, we're praying for 100,000 Christians who will commit to standing in prayer with the estimated 300,000 believers in the underground church of North Korea. As the body of Christ, we are called to pray with each other and for each other. In his first letter of the Corinth, the Apostle Paul reminds us, if one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. Our prayers can go where we cannot. There are no borders, no prison walls, no doors that are closed to us when we pray. But the difficult climate for Christians in North Korea and the rising global interest in this region have led Open Doors to call for Christians around the world to pray for North Korea. We believe that what is happening on the Korean Peninsula illustrates that persecution is the issue of our time, and an issue of which those who follow Jesus cannot afford to be neutral. So join me and other Christians around the world on November 4th in praying for North Korea, that they can be released to search for the truth through the Bible and through a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about, and I think it's important, so I'll put that right at the beginning of the video. Second thing, this Google Doodle that we've got up here, obviously depicts Halloween, but something is calling out to me here, and it's the 15th, or the number 15. I have to caution myself because the number 15 can also be translated as the number 6, obviously 1 plus 5. The 6th of November, I have theorized that there might be an attack on Florida during or just after the midterms. That may or may not happen, we'll see. But I'm just going to break down what I see. So we've got 14 of these flame-like ghost figures, including these two here. I believe because they come round and they make the rock in the middle, or the letter O in the middle, the kind of center point, I think it's included in the count. So you've got 14 here, and then this would be number 15 right in the middle. Now, as you can see, they have drawn the O with emphasis. Again, just like in the iPad Go 2 video, the O is emphasized, and Google have been doing this for a while. The O, as I've said, is the 15th letter of the alphabet, which is pointing me towards the 15th of November in this case, but also a cautionary warning for the 6th of November in case 15 is 1 plus 5, which is 6. Both of those days I have in a watch period of November 6th to November 15th. Now, what you can see here, this is the sun, the animated image of the sun. And this over here is not the moon. This right here is a depiction of space. Now, the reason I say that is because they've given this figure these 3 little dots on either side of the cheek. Now, obviously, that would relate to like freckle marks or something like that. But if you think of all this dark space around here as space, and the little dots here indicating star systems, what you've actually got here is the two eyes, the pupils of the eyes are actually two asteroids or depictions of asteroids. They are being illuminated by the sun. Now this ties into the theory that I talked about yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, that on the 15th or around that time, they're going to do something around the sun because they've been sending probes towards the sun, getting closer and closer. We had the solar observatory shut down where we saw two circular figures or circular shapes moving in front of the sun, and that appears to be what we have here, two twin asteroids being illuminated by the sun. Now, obviously, again, I don't know if that's a correct interpretation. I don't know if it's actually going to be real, or if they're going to, create some sort of illusion which makes it look like there are, two asteroids coming down, or even one. The thoughts on this kind of, again, relates to the Bible, because we have the hail, the fire, the blood coming down, and that could be the first asteroid. They could try and explode it or blow it up with a nuclear weapon of some kind, or make it look like that anyway. Then it rains down, and we've got the hail, the fire. Obviously, again, that could be an illusion. They've got satellites that they've made to look like asteroids when they're entering the atmosphere, releasing brightly coloured material, so it looks like an asteroid burning through the atmosphere. And then you've got the second asteroid or meteor at that point, which would not be exploded due to the consequences of the first one, and would be the great star burning, crashing down into the waters. Third of the fish, third of this, third of that, dying. So I'm just putting my interpretation on this Google Doodle is it's talking about the 15th or the 6th of November, depending on how you look at it, and it's referring to two asteroids or two meteors being illuminated by the sun, possibly heading towards the Earth. And again, they've emphasized it with the O being the 15th letter of the alphabet, and they've also put an asteroid right in the middle of the O, so it looks like an asteroid itself. That's my interpretation. Keep an eye out for it. Now, this is where it gets controversial for some of you and uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. This is probably the first time that I've really focused on this particular character, and it is Donald Trump. So the first thing I want to say is that I think Donald Trump is a Freemason, and he's part of everything that's going on. Some of you may not agree, but bear with me before you stop the video and start commenting about how Donald Trump is saving America or whatnot, because he's not. You can see that pretty clearly, but he's using conspiracy theories and, false flag language to appeal to those of us who believe in those things. And obviously, I'm one of those people who believe that there's false flags and that there's secret governments and stuff like that. But I refuse to let myself be manipulated by someone who is just using that language in order to incite division in your country. What you can see here is when Kim Jong-un sent him the big envelope, the way he's holding it. This was already addressed in my videos and other people's videos as well. People picked up on it very quickly, that the way he was holding the envelope down by his waist with the envelope opening facing towards the camera is very reminiscent of the Mason apron and the way that they wear the apron itself. It is tied around the waist with the envelope front facing. They have various different colors of these things: red, gold, blue. White is also a color. I believe it's used for new initiates. So it's possible that he could be a new Freemason, or it's just they didn't want to make it so obvious with a blue border and everything else. So this is just showing you, hey, I'm a Mason. He could have held it up by his chest. He could have held the envelope the other way around. Everything in this image goes to give you the subliminal message that he is a Mason. After that, we have the amendments. The First Amendment, freedom of speech. That is obviously being clamped down on around the world. Ofcom, which is a UK regulatory body, spearheading a global clampdown on harmful social media content. My issue with this is who classifies what is harmful, and who is it harmful to? Freedom of speech is literally your ability to say what you want to say whenever you want to say it. And you can argue that your freedom of speech is not being infringed upon by clamping down on harmful content on social media. But it is. It's an infringement of freedom of speech. And it's not one that I support. I believe if you're going to talk to people about, harmful content and hateful speech and those kind of things, then it's with education, educating the people as to what is recognized as hate speech and how to avoid it. But instead, they go right to the social medias and they start. You've seen it with Facebook, you've seen it with Twitter, with YouTube, all over the place. They're clamping down. Obviously, in America, you guys have rescinded the net neutrality rules as well. So, well, not you guys, but the Trump administration rescinded the net neutrality rules. So it means that internet companies can slow down your access to particular content or block it completely. So again, that's something that you really have to be aware of in relation to all that clamping down. If these events do come to pass, YouTube is not going to be available. We saw the practice run for that. Look how many people panicked. Like, no YouTube. Everyone ran to Twitter, ran to 4chan, ran to Facebook, various other different social medias. But what if none of those social medias are available? Then you're in a situation where you don't have the same instant access that you would normally have, and panic would ensue because information would just be unavailable. And because of the Trump administration's attack on the media, calling them fake news, and people really running with that, who's going to trust the news if they're the of information, if social media is gone? You see how dangerous it is. You start off with just a little slogan, fake news, but it permeates the mentality of the human psyche. So when there's no other sources of news available and you've only got the mainstream media news, the trust has already been eroded, so you're less likely to believe what they're saying. As I said before, I don't think that news is fake. I think that people put their opinions on it, which, kind of detracts away from the actual news itself. But I can say, like, for example, all the things that I bring to you are news-based. And then I put my own opinions on it in terms of what I think. But I think the content, the information inside of the report is what should be focused on, which is what I try to do when I bring the reports, and I just give you an overview of it. But in this particular video, I am giving more of my opinion. So bear with me on that. That's the second thing. So the next thing on the Constitution or the amendments is the freedom of the press. It's clear that that's being attacked as well. They are the enemy of the people, according to the Trump administration. Various people telling the Trump administration not to call the media the enemy of the people, because we all know what an enemy truly is. And I doubt very much that the media is the enemy of the people. They deceive people, most definitely. They don't always tell you the whole story, but when I think of the word enemy, I don't put the media in that same category. You may disagree, but there you go. That's just each and everyone's opinions. So the First Amendment is clearly being attacked. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Okay. The Second Amendment is also being attacked, but not by who you think it's being attacked by. It's being attacked from the inside, and the revelation of that was pretty clear when Donald Trump let this slip.
Weapons in the possession
Or
of that
might
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times, by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this.
Take the guns first. I like taking the guns early, due process. That is the truth of what Donald Trump thinks. However, he had to walk that back very quickly after, obviously, backlash from people who are very strongly in support of the Second Amendment. So, the Second Amendment, they're both being attacked. And we skip down the list a little bit to the 14th Amendment, which is currently in the news at the moment, the revocation of the birthrights to citizens who are born in the country. Despite what some of the people on the television are saying, America is not the only country that allows people to become citizens if they're born in the country. For example, the UK does the same thing. And by suggesting that you would end the birthright for people born in the country, well, their parents came over as immigrants and that child won't have citizenship. Some of you may think that's fair, but I think it's just another indication that the amendments, or at least the Constitution, is under attack from the inside out. And then we have this.
I have saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, heavens why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
America, you have a snake in your house. I mean, the house is full of snakes, but, this one, considering where we are in the time that we are in, the events that are unfolding and the events we expect to unfold, you have to look at who's in power at the moment. Obviously, Obama is still an issue. When he became president, I had no trust in him whatsoever. It was pretty clear to me, and still is, that anybody who becomes president of the United States cannot do so without the backing or the support of those who control the people in power. So it's pretty clear that Donald Trump is not a savior of the United States. And I say that again, as I said in the beginning of the video, because there are a lot of people who believe he is. And Christian people, when you see the behaviors, when you see the language, I just don't understand how a lot of Christians can't see what's right in front of them. The fear-mongering, the use of the word caravan and invaders and things like that to instill fear into people so that they'll go and vote Republican so they can have the wall and so they can have extra border security. My simple retort to something like this is Matthew chapter 25, verses 40 to 45. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say unto them, then shall he also unto them, one more time, then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not for me, or not to me. There's a lot of old school English language there, but the basis of it is, do unto others as you would have done to you. The situations that we talk about are catastrophic situations. They would result in mass casualties, just a loss of everything, which would turn the very people that are turning people away at the border into immigrants themselves. They'll be seeking places of shelter, water, food, safety, peace, all of that. But if you're unwilling to even try and give that to another person, then how can you expect it for yourselves? And it's pretty clear around the world, the countries are starting to close up their borders. And obviously, if things go down the way that we think they're going to go down, and there's a lot of people seeking shelter, a lot of these countries have closed their borders and would turn around and say, no, you can't come in. So this is pretty much the reason I made to caution against the current climate that we're in. We need to maintain our ability to think for ourselves and not just take in what is being given to us. Even with this video that you're watching, I don't want you to just sit there and listen to what I'm saying and accept it as word. Go and do your own research. Open up your mind a little bit, because it's often in this world that when we come across things we don't agree with, rather than investigating and trying to understand, we just shut down. And there can be no common ground if people are just shutting down at their lines. We need to be able to cross those lines onto the other side to find out why do you think that way? Why do you feel that way? Do you know this? Do you know that? Information is a powerful thing, and at the moment disinformation is being spread like wildfire, and unfortunately it's catching wherever it touches. So you guys, please join me on November 4th with a number of Christians around the world in praying for North Korea. Please be cautious around, well, I'll just say be cautious from now till November 15th in terms of our watch period, but even beyond that, still be cautious and watchful. Think critically, pray, stay close to Jesus, and have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.